Have you ever seen a tale unravel so slowly that when the very last thread is pulled loose, everything you've believed feels like a memory from someone else's life? It didn't occur in a single explosive instant. No fireworks, no dramatic betrayal scene. It unfolded the way real heartbreak so often does. Gradually at first, a glance held too long. A trust broken just enough to let the chill in. A life founded to be permanent, all of a sudden standing on questionable ground. For years, this family painted a picture that to everyone seemed familiar in its own complicated sense. Smiles around the kitchen table, whispered plans of building a life together, vows made with intention, albeit sometimes not honored. To the outside world, it was a picture of unity. But to those living within it, the fractures had already begun to spread. And then one day, they ceased pretending the foundation was firm. If you've ever loved and watched someone slip away, not because of a big fight, but because the novel you were writing together no longer shared the same ending, you'll get this. Cody used to be the man at the center of everything. His voice, his vision, his rules, the head of a family that was looked up to by many, questioned by some, and envied by others in hushed tones. But power tends to resemble a great deal like love. Until those on the other end discover their own voices. And they did. One at a time, the women who had once stood alongside him started to stand on their own. Not in rage. Not at first. But in a sort of quiet realization. A turning that comes when the heart recognizes it's worth more than just surviving someone else's tale. You might sense the difference before anyone uttered it. A bit less light in the space. A bit more quiet between sentences. Cameras recorded the smiles, but what they could not conceal were the eyes that had lost their sparkle. Some tales do not conclude with a slammed door. They conclude with a breathed, "I can't do this anymore." And so, Cody Brown's and his sister wives' empire started to fall apart. Not due to salacious headlines or blow-up fights, but because four women finally chose themselves. Picture spending decades of your life, living in a role you believed was yours forever. Wife, partner, believer in something greater than yourself, only to wake up one day and see that the narrative isn't yours anymore. That perhaps, it never was truly. Mary, Christine, Janelle, and Robin all brought their own reasons, their own silent struggles. And as the world looked on, sometimes judging, they figured out what it was to step into their power, not as wives of a man, but as women dictating their own conclusions. And Cody, control doesn't reverberate quite so much when no one is listening anymore. This is not a TV show about any old family. It's about the sort of heartbreak that most are familiar with but few ever discuss out loud. Heartbreak from growing apart, from waking up to things you cannot unknow, from being confronted with the fact that sometimes love isn't enough to keep people in the same room. You might not have been on television, but perhaps you've experienced it too. Perhaps you've stood at that same fork, where the world you'd created no longer accords with the person you've become. What do you do when the ground of your world starts to shift? Not with a bang, but with the soft, steady tread of people disappearing. What if the spotlight shifts, and the people who were once behind you move into it by themselves? And most importantly, what if the world stops perceiving you as the center of the narrative? Because the narrative has moved on from you. That is what makes this moment in the Sister Wives Chronicle so compelling. It's not merely the downfall of a family on television. It's the quiet strength behind every decision. It's the unglamorous, human reality that love can be true and still not endure. In this video, we're going to walk through how it all came to this. The whispered doubts. The cracks beneath the smiles. The courtroom where the story shifted for good. But more than that, we're going to talk about what it means to reclaim your life, even after decades of living someone else's version of it. So, get comfortable. This ain't gossip or a tabloid. This is love, control, and the type of strength that isn't boisterous, but alters everything. Because when the curtain came down on Cody Brown's world, something remarkable occurred. The women did not simply walk away. They finally walked toward themselves. They imagined the cameras were off, that their secrets were deep where no one could ever discover them. But here's the thing. Nothing remains hidden forever. particularly in a court of law. As Mary took the witness stand, her palms shook as she clutched the folder in front of her chest. Nobody, not even Cody, knew what storm she was going to unleash. Beyond her tranquil, soft voice lay a reality so dynamite that it could rip apart all that the Brown family had constructed. If you have the guts to learn what actually went on behind the scenes, ride with me to the conclusion. And when you do, let me know in the comments. Was Cody a victim, or the mastermind? The air was chilly in the courtroom, not due to the AC, but due to that strange oppressive chill that occurs when a family becomes a battleground. The lighting overhead blazed down like an interrogation light, resting on every strained face, every constricted breath. Cody Brown sat at the defense table, jaw set, fingers drumming against the wood. Robin beside him, hands clenched tightly, eyes red but dry. In the back, Christine, Janelle, and Mary sat separately, no longer like sisters, strangers now. It took years to arrive where they were, years of constructing, and just as many years deconstructing. The judge came in, gavel at the ready. This court is now in session. A sudden silence fell over the room like a blanket. This wasn't a case about money. It wasn't even a case about custody. It was something more complicated. Emotional fraud. A gray area within the law, but a harsh charge. Mary had brought it. Christine and Janelle stood behind her. Cody never saw it coming. And that's how real life works. Sometimes the characters in it aren't even aware they're the bad guys in someone else's story. The air was charged. You could hear every nervous breath. The prosecutor began straightforwardly. What is a family really? That question just hung there. Cody's attorney sprang up. Objection, but the judge ruled against it. Christine was summoned first. She made her way to the stand slowly, chin held high but pain in her movements. Her voice was firm. He assured us this life would be founded upon love, trust, fairness, she testified. But behind closed doors, she paused. It was manipulation. Divide and conquer. Cody burst out a laugh, outrageously loud enough for the microphone to pick it up. The judge's acerbic glare cut that short. Christine did not blink. Told me to handle Mary, to keep her busy. Said Robin was the better fit. And when I stood up for myself, she blinked angrily. Withheld love. Like it was punishment. You don't have to use fists to break people down. Sometimes the best weapon is silence. And Cody, she said, was a master of it. Robin stood up straight. Mary shifted uncomfortably. Janelle looked away. The courtroom was filled with quiet tension. Then the texts. Exhibit B. Late night texts from Cody to Robin. She'll believe anything if you cry. She's too emotional. Just make her feel heard. Christine's face stone hardened. Gasps ran through the courtroom. Order, the judge yelled. And we were just beginning. Mary stood next. Her gait was purposeful, each step as though shedding years of quiet. She sat, drew a breath, and spoke. This is not revenge. This is release. Her gaze swept the room, lingering on Robin then Cody. I lingered longer than I should have. For the kids, for the image, for the illusion. But I was deceived. I was instructed to be quiet, to give way so others could take center stage. Cody's expression was inscrutable, but Robin shifted uncomfortably in her seat. Then Mary opened the folder. The prosecutor moved forward. Your Honor, we'd like this entered into evidence. Objection. Overruled. What's in it? The judge asked. Mary's voice quivered just once. Journals. My journals. From the last 7 years. The room froze. Those journals carried the nights she wept in solitude. The times Cody instructed her to get her attitude together, when she had the temerity to question him. The sessions of therapy where Robin interpreted her emotions for the therapist. The Christmas that Cody spent without a whisper. Robin instructing her to take a spiritual step back. It wasn't betrayal. It was a slow, silent dashing of her spirit. Robin paled. Cody leaned in close to his lawyer, whispering hotly. The judge declared a recess. Onlookers stood silently in shock. Christine approached Mary, and silently squeezed her hand. No words. Just that. Outside there were cameras everywhere. Headlines screamed. Sister wives implode in court. Emotional fraud trial begins. But within this was not a headline. It was reality unraveling. Then the back door creaked open. A woman entered, short hair, dark business suit, clipboard in hand. She spoke to the bailiff. The judge returned. "We have a surprise witness." Cody whipped his head toward the door. His face went pale. The woman took the stand, removed her glasses and locked eyes with him. "I'm here," she said, "because Cody Brown paid me to lie." Yet another wave of gasps. The room no longer felt chilly. It was on fire. "My name is Lisa Cartwright," she started firmly. "I was a member of the Brown family's production team for 4 years, seasons 12 through 16. Cody shifted uncomfortably in his seat. Robin looked straight ahead. "Back in 2018, Lisa went on, "Cody paid me $10,000 in cash to ensure that certain footage never made it to the air. Footage of fights with Mary. It didn't fit TLC's image," he told her. Mary's mouth dropped. "What footage?" she breathed. Lisa regarded her gently. "You on the front porch, crying, begging him to answer after 2 weeks of nothing. It was raw, real, and it vanished. Not because it wasn't real, but because it was." Christine covered her eyes. Janelle cried. Lisa was not finished. "He also ensured tapes of Robin training Mary for interviews were concealed. Off tape she instructed her, 'Don't speak of the breakup. It isn't time yet.'" Cody was standing right there. Mary blinked rapidly. "I thought I was just paranoid." "You weren't," Lisa said softly. "You were manipulated." The air thickened. Lisa descended quietly, but her words hung like mist. Christine took her turn back on the stand, voice more passionate now. The prosecutor waved a printed email. "Christine, do you recognize this message you sent to Janelle and Mary?" She nodded. "Yes, the day I decided to leave. Would you please read out the part that is in bold?" Christine cleared her throat. "This isn't plural marriage. This is a dictatorship. Robin issues commands. Cody makes us comply. And we endure. I cannot teach my daughters this is love." Cody slammed his hand on the table. "That's not true." The judge's glare could cut steel. "One more outburst, Mr. Brown, and you'll be removed." Robin leaned in, whispering urgently to Cody. He shook his head. Whatever this had been, it wasn't a family anymore. It was a war built on whispered commands and shattered promises. Then came the question that cracked the courtroom wide open. "Christine, did Robin ever say anything to you regarding Cody's plans for Mary?" The prosecutor leaned forward and asked, "Christine, did Robin ever mention anything to you regarding Cody's plans for Mary?" Christine hesitated. "Not at all. Yes, in 2021 she said to me, and I'm quoting, 'Cody wants Mary out, but he's scared of the backlash, so he's waiting for her to quit first.'" Mary's head flew in her direction. "You never told me that." Christine's voice trembled. "I didn't want to hurt you more than he had. I was trying to protect you. I was wrong." The courtroom changed. Not legally, at least not yet, but emotionally. If this were a documentary, this would be the part where people leaned forward in their seats, gripping armrests. Then Janelle rose. Her demeanor was altered, calm, steady. "I stayed out of the spotlight for a long time," she started. "I felt that silence was the righteous thing to do. I felt that if we all just nodded and played along, we'd be more powerful. But I have sons who saw their dad turn a blind eye to them, as he doted on Robin's kids. I have daughters who were told, 'Don't make a scene,' every time they had the nerve to ask a question. That silence, it cost us." She unfolded a small picture from her file. "This is from Gabe's birthday. Cody didn't attend. He didn't even call. And when I asked him why, he said," her voice became constricted, "I don't celebrate pity parties." The room gasped. Christine hesitated to shake her head slowly. Sometimes heartbreak isn't loud, it's in the silence that follows cruel words. Janelle's tone became softer. "That was the moment I knew. He wasn't just failing as a husband, he was failing as a father." The judge ordered a 10-minute recess. But no one got up. Everyone just sat there, soaking it all in. Outside, the press was already abuzz. Headlines blared. Robin in the hot seat. Christine drops bomb on Cody's control tactics. Mary's 7 years of silence shattered. Inside, Robin slowly rose. "I'd like to testify," she said. The judge arched a brow. "Under oath?" "Yes," Robin whispered, hands trembling. Christine and Janelle exchanged wary glances. Mary folded her arms. Robin walked to the stand like she was stepping into fire. But when she turned to face the court, her voice was surprisingly clear. I know how I must look, she started out. Manipulative wife, favorite, villain. But I swear, I never wanted to replace anyone. I love them still. I thought we were a team. But yes, I did go along with things I shouldn't have. I asked Mary to remain silent. I asked Christine to trust the process. I dismissed Janelle's hurt because I was afraid. Scared of what? The prosecutor asked. Robin's gaze flashed to Cody. Of him, another burst of gasps. Cody's face blanched. Sometimes the individuals nearest to us aren't watching out for us. They're watching out for themselves from us. She went on, her voice quivering but firm. Cody called the shots. Who was in? Who was out? You crossed him, you were out. So I didn't cross him. Mary's tone sliced through. But you benefited from it, didn't you? Robin turned to her, tears streaming down. Yes, and I carry that shame with me every day. The judge demanded silence. Robin came down, her hands still shaking. Cody would not look at her. It was as though the power in the room had been rearranged. Not legally, but in the realm of truth. Then the prosecutor rose. We have one final piece of evidence. A February 2022 voicemail. Unreleased. Unheard. She hit play. Cody's voice dominated the room. I don't care what Mary has to say. She doesn't matter. Let her cry. She'll crawl back when she finds out she has nothing else. She always does. The recording clicked off. Mary closed her eyes and for the first time that day cried. Not the loud, messy kind of cry, but a quiet, shattering one. The most painful betrayals don't always happen when someone leaves. Sometimes they happen when someone stays and convinces you your pain is your fault. The judge adjourned for the day. Court will resume tomorrow at 9 a.m. We will consider newly unsealed evidence. As the room emptied, Mary remained in her chair. Janelle placed a hand on her shoulder. Christine stood with them. Robin hung back, unsure where to belong. Cody sat by himself. No wives, no words, just silence. Tomorrow when those sealed files were opened, and whatever was contained within might change everything. The following morning, reporters swarmed outside the courthouse. Inside, the courtroom was full. Everyone sensed it. Something major was going to go down. Mary was there early, cool on the surface, but her exhausted eyes revealed the truth. Christine and Janelle sat together now, a mutual understanding. Robin walked in last, holding a tiny notebook. Cody was behind her. He brushed against her hand. She didn't reciprocate. The judge strode in. We'll continue. The court has received new materials from the prosecution. The prosecutor stood up. Your Honor, we are offering 3 recordings made by a former family counselor. These tapes hold discussions between Mr. Brown and his wives. None of them were revealed to the family. Cody's lawyer leapt up. Objection, invasion of privacy. Overruled, answered the judge. Play the first one. The lights dipped a bit as the recording started. Cody's voice rang out, icy and crystal clear. You think you deserve equality? You're lucky I show up at all. Robin knows her place. You need to learn yours. A muted gasp slipped from Christine. Robin dropped her head. Mary tensed. This was the same voice that once told her she was the cornerstone of the family, now laced with contempt. The tape crackled. Cody once more. Mary's a liability. She brings down the mood. TLC doesn't want sad wives. They want happy stories. Mary blinked quickly, lips quivering. Sometimes hearing the truth aloud stings worse than living the lie. The second tape rolled. Robin's voice was trembling with sobs. Please, Cody, don't make me do this. I can't keep pretending on TV. They'll hate me. Cody's response was icy. Then cry prettier. The courtroom was silent. Even the bailiff turned his back. Robin hid her face in her hands. I didn't want that on the street, she whispered. Mrs. Brown, the judge inquired softly. Is this recording real? Robin nodded, crying. Yes, every word. The prosecutor paused and began the third and last tape. This time Cody was speaking to the counselor in what he thought was a private session. I cannot love Mary anymore. I can hardly even look at her. But if I divorce her, it'll destroy the show. So I'll get her to go away on her own. The courtroom was filled with soft muttering. Mary's face paled. Her breath caught in her throat. Christine put a trembling hand on her shoulder. Cody looked down, speechless. It's one thing to be unwanted. Another to discover your hurt was included in someone's plan. The judge let out a deep breath. You will have a short recess. Prior to cross-examination. But Robin didn't budge. Her breathing grew shallower. Then she stood. Your Honor, she breathed. I won't be quiet anymore. The room fell silent. I was involved too, she admitted. I said things I shouldn't have said. I lied to keep him safe. I was trying to save our family, but I was really saving his ego. She faced Cody, sobbing. You told me to smile while they wept. You had me say what you couldn't say. And when people saw me as the bad guy, you let them do that, because it saved your reputation. Cody flushed red. That's not true. You're twisting. Stop, she sobbed. Stop gaslighting me here too. The words hung in the air like a thunderclap. A wave of gasps swept through the courtroom. The judge lifted a hand sharply. Order, but Robin was already trembling, her carefully built composure cracking at the edges. He made me monitor Mary's texts, she confessed, her voice quivering. He told me it was for her well-being, but really he just wanted to know if she was talking to the press. Cody slammed the table, his voice booming through the room. You don't know what you're saying. But Robin did not back down this time. She addressed the judge, her eyes glistening with tears. I do. I know exactly what I'm saying. Sometimes the truth doesn't whisper. It screams. Chaos ensued. Journalists wrote wildly. Cameras popped like strobe lights. And the gentle hum of whispers became a wave. Mary sat frozen, pale and rigid, her trembling fingers in her lap. The anguish of Cody's treachery had already sliced deep. But hearing Robin confess her role excavated a wound all its own. It was as if she witnessed the mirage of sisterhood consume itself in flames. Christine's eyes welled up with tears. Not sorrow. Exactly. But something piercing. Vindication. Cody's face was that of a man witnessing his meticulously constructed castle crumble brick by brick. His attorney pushed forward, attempting to stabilize him. But his control, his public image was lost. The judge finally brought the gavel down. Crack. Enough. Everyone be quiet. Silence came back, taut and delicate. Mrs. Brown, the judge instructed sharply, addressing Robin. Do you have any evidence to substantiate these allegations? Robin nodded slowly. I do. She opened the small notebook she'd held tight since morning. Inside were printed emails, text messages, written notes. She gave them over to the bailiff. These are texts from me and Cody from 2020, she described. He told me to text Mary about spiritual healing to keep her busy, while he transferred family money to another account, one only he could touch. A room full of gasps. Christine mouthed, "Oh my God." The prosecutors advanced. Your Honor, this alters everything. These texts directly connect to the sealed financial documents we subpoenaed. Cody's attorney sprang up. This is outrageous. Those records were sealed. The judge's eyes slow. Not anymore. Secrets have expiration dates, Mr. Brown. And yours just expired. Cody's skin turned ghostly white. His fists curled. He looked like a man seeing the walls come down. Mary muttered to herself. Voice reed thin. All those years, and I still stood up for you. Janelle stood up. You don't have to anymore. The silence that followed wasn't the peaceful kind. It was thick, definitive. The illusion they'd lived in so long was no more. The judge went through the evidence quickly. With this new evidence, court will recess until tomorrow morning. We'll decide if the defense willfully withheld financial reports. But before she could bang the gavel, a clerk rushed up and spoke in her ear. The judge scowled. What did you say? The clerk turned over a folder. This just arrived from the Federal Financial Bureau. It is regarding those same accounts. She read the first page and went cold. Her eyes fastened on Cody. This is impossible, she whispered. What is it? The prosecutor inquired. The judge's voice sliced like a blade. Those accounts were not in Mr. Brown's name alone. Robin's was there as well. Robin took a step backward, her eyes wide. No, that cannot be. But the papers were authentic. They bore her own signature. The courtroom erupted, cameras popping, reporters shouting, people screaming over one another. Robin buried her face in her head, crying. He told me they were joint accounts for the children. I didn't know. Cody didn't even glance at her. For the first time all day, he had no words to speak. That's the thing about control. Once it is lost, it never departs quietly. The judge's gavel boomed through the din. Court is adjourned pending further notice. Newspapermen poured out, phones ringing. Mary just sat there, her eyes locked on Cody. Not with love, but with a steady, smoldering resolve. Robin slumped into a seat, crying, as Christine leaned in over Janelle. "It's over," she breathed. Janelle shook her head gently. "No, it's just beginning." Outside, the courthouse shone like a spotlight in the morning sunlight. Inside, everyone was aware the true performance would be taking place. 3 days of heartbreak, betrayal, and testimony had narrowed down to one question. What remains when the groundwork of a family is laid on deceit? Cody arrived alone that day. His face was set like stone, but his steps betrayed him. Mary, Christine, and Janelle sat shoulder to shoulder, united but weary. Robin followed shortly after, flanked by her lawyer. Her face was swollen from crying. The judge wasted no time. "We'll begin by unsealing financial records." Exhibit 47. That envelope sat on the clerk's desk like something alive, quiet but dangerous. The prosecutor approached, clutching papers. In the last 8 years, Mr. Brown funneled over $417,000 into private LLC accounts, funds intended for common family expenditures. These accounts were masked behind such names as Desert Family Consulting and Unity Strategies LLC. Christine gasped. "That was our therapy fund." Janelle breathed softly. "He told us we couldn't pay Maddie's tuition." Mary didn't stir. He said, "My business account was too separate for family money." Truth sometimes yells, other times it's simply figures. And these figures screamed. Robin leapt from her seat. "I didn't know. I thought it was revenue." The judge's tone drowned them out. "You co-signed at least 3 of these accounts, Mrs. Brown." Robin's voice quavered. "He said to sign. He said it was for tax sheltering, for the kids' future." Cody still would not look at her. Christine's tone was icy. "You knew. You just didn't ask." Robin wept, shaking her head. "No. I trusted him." The judge leaned forward. "Belief is not a defense against responsibility." The room was so silent you could hear the paper crackle as the judge signed off on another order. Then came the moment. The clerk produced Exhibit 47. The envelope Mary had given on day 1. In it was more than financial information. It contained DNA test results from an adoption case in 2016. But underneath was another report. A hidden one. The judge opened it, read the page, and raised her eyes slowly. "Mrs. Brown. Mary, can you verify that you made these requests in 2022? Mary stood. She spoke steadily, though her hands shook. "Yes, I requested paternity testing. In confidence, I never intended to take it to court." "But you did," the judge answered. "And the court finds it acceptable." Cody's mask at last broke. True panic danced in his eyes. "The test shows," the judge continued flatly, "one of Robin's children, whom Mr. Brown has so far insisted is his biological son, is not." The room exploded. Mary put her hand over her mouth. Christine gasped. Janelle whispered, "Oh my God." Cody sprang to his feet. "That's a lie." Robin's face contorted. "I don't understand." But the judge didn't flinch. This test was taken in July 2022 by a private lab at Mary Brown's request. Cody glared at Mary, his face red with rage. "You invaded our privacy." Mary looked him straight in the eye without blinking. "You breached our trust." And there the trial no longer became merely a courtroom fight. It became a reckoning, the point at which the mask broke. Robin was sobbing now, her shoulders shaking. "It was before Cody," she said, her voice cracking. "It happened once. I never thought, he swore he'd raise the baby as his." Mary shook her head slowly, each movement heavy. "But you allowed him to lie to us. You allowed him to use that child as a shield to manipulate everything. Each time I asked him a question, he'd say, I'm doing this for Robin's kids. And you allowed him. Robin slumped into her chair. The prosecutor didn't need to utter a word. The truth was already present, suspended heavily in the air. But Christine wasn't finished. She rose to her feet. Not summoned, not invited. But the judge nodded ever so slightly. I want this on the record. Christine started. Her voice calm but seething with years of contained emotion. We were told for years to smile, to act, to prioritize Cody's vision over our own life. And when we cried, we were told that we appeared weak. Her eyes locked on Cody. You didn't just shatter our hearts. You took our pain and made it your strength. And when the truth became too real, you buried it. Cody yelled back, fury rising. You all got paid too. You were in on it. Christine blinked, not at all. We were part of a family. You were conducting a business. The more someone yells in denial, the more truth begins to seep through. Janelle stood beside her. She didn't shout. She spoke calmly, almost kindly, but each word was a rock. I stood by you longer than I should have. I said to myself you were stressed out, overwhelmed. But the truth is, Cody, you didn't want love. You wanted control. She faced the judge. Your Honor, I want to formally stand with Mary in her claim. What occurred wasn't merely emotional deceit. It was deliberate, orchestrated, long-term. And yes, Robin was involved, even though she didn't realize it then. Robin breathed softly, but no sound emerged. Mary's head came up in shock. You're really doing this with me? Janelle nodded. Christine moved forward. All the way. Cody grew red by the second. This is a setup. You plotted this. The judge rapped her gavel down hard. Mr. Brown, if you persist, Cody pounded his fist on the table. This is betrayal. Robin's voice rang out, soft but sharp. Now you know how it feels. And in an instant the dynamics changed. She turned, not to Cody, but to Mary. I'll testify on your behalf, she said. Mary's eyes narrowed. Why now? Robin dried her tear-streaked face. Because I was too scared before. And if I don't say it now, I'll be scared forever. It's never too late to tell the truth. Yet occasionally it is too late to reverse the damage. The judge nodded. Then we'll take it up tomorrow. Closing statements start. Cody slumped in his chair. A man who had finally exhausted all methods of keeping control. As the courtroom cleared, something was different. Mary left first. Not alone anymore. Christine, Janelle, and Robin trailed behind. The sister wives weren't whole again, but they no longer stood in his shadow. Tomorrow, judgment arrived, and along with it, one final twist. No one anticipated. Here's a question for you though. Should Robin's change be considered courage or survival? Let me know in the comments. The final day of trial arrived in unsettling quiet. No chanting on the steps of the courthouse. No screaming tabloid headlines. Only quiet. The kind that precedes something etched into history forever. The courtroom was filled to capacity. Shoulders pushed together. Eyes flashed. This was no longer just another court case. This was a legacy being destroyed. Mary was seated in the middle, tightly clasping her hands in her lap. Flanking her were Christine and Janelle, silent, unyielding. Robin came apart, free of the glamorous protection she had once sported. No cosmetics, no ornament, simple blouse, a pair of red, puffy eyes. Cody was seated singly, already situated. The judge entered briskly. We are here today for closing arguments and final judgment in Mary Brown versus Cody Brown on the charges of emotional fraud, financial concealment, and misrepresentation of family intent under plural marriage structure. She paused. Prior to commencement, the court formally accepts the additional testimony filed last night by Robin Brown. It will be entered into permanent record. Robin sat up straight, but her hands trembled. Cody sat stone-faced, staring ahead. The prosecutor stood, voice flat but biting. This wasn't about tabloid sensationalism, she said. It's about 4 women who gave a man their hearts, their finances, and their children, and received performance in exchange for partnership. It's about how Cody Brown made love a hierarchy, religion a tool, and favoritism a weapon. She gazed out at the jury. He referred to them as wives, but kept them like employees. Disposable, replaceable. Silent, Cody's lawyer leapt to his last defense. rapid fire on the verge of desperation. Mr. Brown was overwhelmed. He tried to love equally. He lived in the limelight, in a plural marriage with pressures no one else could have understood. He didn't commit fraud, he failed. And there's a difference. But as he was talking, Cody's expression betrayed him. Not guilt, not remorse, but seething anger. The judge addressed Cody. Mr. Brown, do you have a final statement? He rose slowly. His voice was tightly reined, too reined. I did all I could for that family. I took care of them. I guided them in faith. I might have been stern, but no one complained when the cameras rolled and the paychecks were fat. Now they want to alter history. Perhaps, he said directly to Mary. You should have left when you considered it. Mary didn't flinch. Christine leaned over, whispering just loud enough for her to hear. That's the real Cody. Sometimes a person's last words in a fight are the clearest picture of who they are. The judge leaned forward. I've listened for 4 days, reviewed evidence. This is one of the most emotionally complex cases I've encountered. She paused. Emotional deception is hard to define, but not impossible. Her tone remained firm. This court concludes that Cody Brown, by sustained manipulation, monetary dishonesty, and psychological gaslighting, purposefully inflicted emotional damage on Mary Brown, Christine Brown, and Janelle Brown. The room was filled with gasps. Even journalists stopped in mid-stroke, pencils suspended. The judge went on unswervingly. Although this case does not involve criminal sentencing, the court grants Mary Brown compensatory damages of $192,000, indicating the monetary damage concluded by forensic accounting. Additionally, Cody Brown is prohibited from employing any footage or image of Mary, Christine, or Janelle in future business endeavors without their written permission. Christine breathed deeply. Janelle put out her hand and grasped Mary's. Guilty. That one word had not had to be yelled. It had resonated on its own. Cody hadn't stormed this time. He hadn't wept. He just sat there, rigid and empty. Some men don't blow when their authority is taken from them. They just disintegrate. But before the judge's gavel came down, Mary rose. I need to say something. The judge nodded. Proceed. Mary breathed in, and the whole courtroom breathed with her. When I brought this case, I wanted justice, she whispered. But now I just want peace. This isn't about punishment anymore. It's about clarity and healing. She looked at Cody. I loved you more than I should have, and you shattered that love until it was beyond recognition. But I forgive you, not for you, but for me. For the first time, Cody's eyes flashed, just for a second, and then the wall came back up. The judge nodded. Court is adjourned. Bang. Reporters poured out, but the women remained seated in their group of 3. 3 women who had once shared a man. Now they were sharing freedom. Robin moved cautiously. Mary, may I speak with you? Christine bristled, but Mary waved her hand. It's okay. Robin whispered. I said what I meant. I'll testify whenever you need me. If ever you wanted to talk. Mary nodded softly. And in that instant, the tale wasn't about Cody any longer. It was about the women taking back their own. Perhaps someday. Robin's eyes dropped. I'm sorry, she whispered. Mary nodded softly. I know. I think you always were. You know, closure isn't always neatly packaged with a bow. It can be a simple talk that you never thought you'd find the courage to have. Outside, the sky was a heavy gray. Reporters buzzed around like bees. Microphones extended like they could pluck the truth right out of a person's mouth. Cody moved through the crowd, head lowered. But the cameras were not behind him this time. They had turned in on Mary, on Christine, on Janelle. The story had changed. They were no longer his wives. They were their own women. Over the coming weeks, tiny but potent updates emerged in the headlines. Mary quietly purchased a cabin way up in Montana. A serene new start. Christine fell in love once more with a man she met at a retreat, set to pen a different page. Janelle launched a mentorship program to assist women exiting polygamous relationships, providing the empowerment she herself had lacked. And Robin, she left for Utah, quietly. No TV crews, no interviews, just silence. As for Cody, he was gone from television. No more specials, no more reality show moments. What was left was that one unforgettable courtroom video. That's what the world remembered. Not the big TV weddings, not the bonus mom episodes, not the carefully edited smiles. They recalled the day the sister wives stood tall, the day they approached the stand, not as cast members, but as women reclaiming their own narratives. And finally, let me leave you with one last question. Do you think Cody ever loved them? Beyond that need to control? Let me know what you think in the comments. I read every single one,